Why is it that the First Amendment privileges speech over pain? Why can't we permit the jury to see that, in fact, some speech is, in fact, damaging?
Oh, and when I make a speech, if I'm talking about Bush and the war criminals that are putting America in this situation that the historian is going to write, I hope my speech creates some pain. I hope my speech makes the Bush administration feel that they did wrong.
Sticks and stones may break my bones.
But isn't it absurd that the First Amendment is based on a nursery rhyme?
I used to be a libel lawyer at the New York Times. The New York Times has not lost a libel case since the Supreme Court applied the First Amendment to the law of libel in 1964, and it's not settled a libel case for money since 1964. It's a good newspaper, but we probably did some things between 1964 and the present that might subject us to some sort of legal process, or at least ought to put us in fear of some sort of legal process. And sometimes you wonder whether we might not have too much protection.
Tom Shales of the Washington Post wrote this fabulous review of the pilot. He said, there's just one problem. That woman would never end up with that man. So Stephen Bochco wrote him back, the creator, wrote him back and said, thanks for your wonderful review. I'll send your comments along to Mr. and Mrs. Tucker, who've been married for 13 years.
What a lawyer is, and we really talked about this quite a bit with the writers, is someone who goes to bat for the person who hires them. They're not necessarily doing what they believe in. That's what this show is about, and that's why it was a good show.
Sure. Many people have told us that they went to law school because of our show. Thousands of people have told us that, and we always wonder if that was a good thing.
You say you should have gone to acting school.
One time Harry Hamlin was approached and told that a summation that he had given was sort of taken verbatim, that the lawyer took it verbatim and used it for his summation.
and then Harry went home. He thought that was a really neat thing, and he was talking to some people the next day on the set. And then it occurred to him that on the show he lost that case.
Favorite moment was when we went to Europe, when the show went to Europe and we were sent over on a press junket. And that's when we discovered the power of television. We were walking down the street in London and a cabbie leaned out of his window and said,
Jill, Michael, teach me the Venus butterfly.
Oh, that's great.
Wow. Wow.
I had a prosecutor once at a trial saying, do you know it here or do you know it here? Do you know it here? Do you know? The family of one of the kids, the college kids that was killed in Florida by this guy Rawling, who was just put to death, they were so ready for this that this was going to be their thing. Revenge is obviously the primary motivation for the death penalty. And when you look at the legislations as they're designed, generally that's the main focus. You're going to give this victim's family what they want. It crushed this family that the man sang a hymn before they put him to death. That instead of saying, I didn't do it, or I'm sorry, or any of the things they wanted to hear him say and then die as a penalty for not having said it sooner, was taken from them by this hymn.
The fact of the matter is that we knew the Russians were no threat, military threat, and that we were all powerful. At the same time, we wanted to persuade the American people to be frightened. And Senator Vandenberg said, we've got to scare hell out of the American people. And so what was created was a kind of civil religion, of a very punitive, Puritan civil religion in which there were loyalty oaths and blacklists and ritualistic confessions in front of congressional committees where no crimes were assumed to have been committed except crimes of thought.
He said, I just put everything I had into it, all my feelings and everything I'd learned in 46 years of living about family life and fathers and children, and my feelings about racial injustice and equality and opportunity. I think that he did put so much of himself into it, but I think that Atticus became him too in the same way. And just a few years ago, the American Film Institute voted Atticus Finch the #1 film hero of all time. So
I don't have any quarrel with that.
Ahead of Indiana Jones and everyone else.
Oh, I think he's much better than Indiana Jones, even than Rick in Casablanca. I think he's much better.